Hello out there to my YouTube fam. I am Happy Nappy One. If this is your first time seeing my face, welcome. Join the fam bam. Hit the subscribe button. If this is not your first time here, welcome back, boos, and I'm glad that you're here to support me for another video. So yeah, so from the title you can tell this video is dedicated to explaining how, yeah, that, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that's Perry. As I was saying, this video is dedicated to explaining how I finally found out the person's name that I was dating and had a child by. On top of, I found out how old they were that day as well. Yes, he probably might be looking at me like, you sound stupid. You know what? I don't care. You can say whatever you want, say whatever you think, but sometimes there's situations that happen that are out of your control that you don't have the answers to, and you find out later, you know? So, yeah, let's start where it all began. So I was messing around, cutting school. If you don't know, I'm from Chicago. And I went to Kenwood my first year, and then I transferred to Harlan. And so, was I still at Kenwood at this point? No, I was going to Harlan at this time. And my friend, I'm not gonna say her name because I don't want to implicate her, you know, just, you know how people just throw people in stories. Like, you could tell your part of the story, but how you just gonna trick on them? Like, do people still say trick, or is it just, you know, you snitch? I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So my friend and I, we decided we were cutting class that day or whatever, and she was talking to this dude that lived on the south side, but he was like, what school was that? He was by Calumet. Yeah, he lived by Calumet. So we was over there. They got into it. We left. We split ways. Somehow I ended up on the other side of town, which I was closer to like 69th and Eggleston. Don't ask me how I got there. All I know is I'm just there walking around. And I see this guy standing on a corner, and he see me, and clearly he's serving. Like, he's clearly serving, but I'm out of my business because I ain't got nothing to do with what you doing to make your money. So he's like, hey. I'm like, dang, I knew I should have cut down the other corner, but whatever, I'm just gonna ignore him. Hey, I know you hear me. Okay, yes, I hear you. You know, so we meet in the middle of the street, and I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, you know what you doing? Yada, yada, yada. We ended up, I didn't have a phone. So, and at this point, I'm still a kid living at home. I'm probably a freshman or sophomore in high school. I don't remember. And so, and I went to school young. So I graduated from Bennett early. I was like 12 when I graduated. So I was like 13 or 14 at this point, somewhere around there. And so next thing I know, he gives me his pager number. He's like, hey, hit me up sometime, yada, yada, yada. I'm out of there. So the next day, we end up cutting school again. I don't even know why we were cutting school that day. And it just was what it was. Perry he just in the video too. Let me close it out. Let me close it out. Okay, so I took care of that. If you're still here, Perry, my bad. But anyway, so yeah, where was I at? Oh, so yeah, I ended up back over there again. I had paged this person, and we're going to give him a fake name. His fake name is going to be Jim. That's just what it's going to be. So Jim was like, well, I had paged him, and I didn't have a phone, so I waited by the pay phone, but he never called back. So I was like, whatever, I'll just walk over there. He might be over there serving. I get over there, he's not out there. Some other dude is out there, and I was like, hey, you know Jim? Which was so weird. I don't know why I felt comfortable just asking a random stranger, do they know somebody else? That's weird. But anywho, he was like, yeah, I seen him. He been around. So I end up talking to him, and then Jim appears. So I'm just talking to Jim, whatever, and he's like, hey, you want to go get something to eat? So we walk around the corner and we go to this place called Tammy's, which is like on 70th and Eggleston, somewhere around there. And so we get a 6-piece wing, and then we got some mouse sauce, of course. It wasn't Harold's, but it was good. And we ended up going to his place. So his place was a block away from Tammy's. And yeah, I ended up working at Tammy's, and then I ended up subsequently getting fired from Tammy's because of him, because of Jim. But that's a whole nother story. Man, Jim took me through some stuff. But anywho, so we end up going to his place, and what I find out is he's staying with a woman who is on drugs. So she has 3 children. One would have seizures and stuff. So I believe he had epilepsy. So you know, that's where he was staying. He was renting a room. It was like, whatever, I'm just passing through. So we listening to music, talking, whatever, and he's wooing me. And I'm like, okay, he's pretty cool. So I end up leaving. I go home. I don't talk to him for like, I don't know, a week or 2. And then I decided to hit him up again. And so fast forward, somehow I end up moving in with him. Don't ask me how all that happened in between, but somewhere in between, I end up moving in with him. Yes, that meant I ran away from home, yada, yada, yada. We ain't gonna even go through all that story. So, I mean, for the first 4 or 5 months, he was cool. Like, he took care of everything. He made sure I had everything I needed. I didn't want for anything, so there was really no true issues. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was nice. We were getting along. So, also, Jim told me he was 19. So, I'm under the impression that Jim is 19. So, fast forward, like, after the first couple of months, 4 or 5 months, around the 6th month, the real him came out. And the real him was very abusive, verbally, physically, financially, mentally, like whatever type of abuse there was, he was there. He was on it. And, you know, he messed me up. Like, he really messed me up. And fast forward, I end up getting pregnant, and I end up having a child by him, my first child. So we end up being together, whatever. I'm frightened. Like, I just stay there because I felt like my son deserved to have both parents, you know. I didn't know I didn't have to go through the stuff I was going through. But, you know, it was just weighing heavy on me as a child. I'm maybe 15 or 16 at this point. I have my first child. Not communicating with my family much. It's just me and him. And that's basically what it was. So one day we were coming home, and he was just going in on me. Like, I don't even remember what I did, but whenever something happened, it was my fault. It was my fault. It was my fault. So I'm just like, you know what? There's nothing I could do about this. It's just going to be whatever it is going to be. And that day, I was tired. We were coming home. I had the baby. I was carrying the baby, who was a newborn, wasn't that old at all. And we were just arguing, and he was grabbing me. I'm screaming. Somebody called the police. The police come. Now, this gets to the point to where people be like, call the police. You know, just leave. Get a restraining order. Oh, okay. So the police come. 2 people, 2 officers, 2 males. And they pull up, and they're like, hey, I'm going to give Jim the name Corey. So they're like, hey, Corey, what is you doing? I'm looking around like, who the hell is Corey? Like, they kept saying that. They were like, Corey, come here, Corey, stop playing now. And he's conversing with them, and he like, hey, why'd you up here telling my business? Like, I see him getting upset, and I'm like, telling his business. They calling him Corey. Do I not know this dude's name? So I'm looking so perplexed. So then one of the cops, because he comes over to talk to me, he's like, ma'am, how are you doing? How's the baby? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm just so confused right now. Like, we were arguing or whatever, but I'm trying to figure out who is Corey. And dude was like, who is Corey? Like, he's looking perplexed now. He's looking the same way I'm looking. And so he tells his partner, he's like, hey, she asking who's Corey. And so the other cop stops talking to, what name did I give him? Jim. And then he like, Corey, you out here playing these games again, huh? And so next thing I know, Corey is getting really upset. Corey, aka Jim, is getting really upset. And next thing I know, he was like, man, I done told you. Like, he's really getting reared up. And I'm like, okay, this is not going to end well. He's probably going to go to jail, whatever. So I'm just over here crying because I'm like, this ain't even this dude's name. I done had a whole child by this dude, and his name ain't even Jim. So in my head, it's just so much going on right now because I'm trying to figure out why didn't I know his real name. So then the cop was also like, well, if that's the case, do you even know how old this man is? And I'm like, yeah, Jim is 19. And he's like, first of all, well, he didn't say first of all, but he's like, his name ain't Jim. And he ain't nowhere near 19. He's laughing. Like, the cop is literally laughing. And I feel so stupid because I didn't know this dude's name. I didn't know how old he was. And I had a whole child by this dude. Right. You know how stupid I look? You know how dumb I felt? And this is how I found out. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to walk off. So as I'm walking off, Corey, a.k.a. Jim, he goes to grab me. And the cops was like, hey, Corey, don't touch her. So he goes to grab him to put his arm behind his back because he's like, now you're assaulting her. And next thing I know, Corey is fighting with the cop. Like, they're literally fighting, like fist fighting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on right now? So next thing I know, the other cop comes over. He's trying to help restrain Corey. And Corey's fighting the both of them. Y'all, you talking about get the police. I just seen him whoop the police. And to be fair, this is one time they did not pull out their guns. Y'all know how cops be shooting up folks. This was in the 90s. They did not pull out their guns to shoot him, which, man, so that tells you a lot. But the cops were also black too. So that's a whole nother story. But it was just like, he's fighting the cops. He's fighting the cops. And guess what? He got away. So, like, he literally got away. So one of the cops was running after him because they needed to find him because they were going to arrest him. Because, not only did he assault me, well, they said that was assault, he also was fighting with the police. So now he has to go to jail. Y'all, this dude got away. Like, I'm just standing here. I don't know what to do. The cop is like, okay, is there some place I can take you and your child? And I'm like, I live with him. He has the key. I don't know what to do. I can't go home because I shunned my family to be with him. I chose him over my family. And I'm just like, so many emotions is going through my head. I feel stupid. I feel misled. I felt like just in the worst place because, and actually I'm really glad that when I did have my child, I was not there because, well, around him, because I probably would have put the fake name that he told me on the birth certificate. And lucky me, I felt that he didn't deserve to have his name on the birth certificate. So unfortunately, my oldest son does not have his father's name on his birth certificate. And which I'm glad because it would have been a fake name. So I don't know. I'm just like, I know I know this sounds crazy and you're like, that could not have happened. It did happen. It happened to me. I don't know if this has happened to anyone else, but it weighed heavy on me. And to this day, I still am in awe that actually happened. And I don't even know how I didn't even know how to proceed for a long time. Like, don't get me wrong, I left for a minute, and of course I came back to him because that's just what I thought was the right thing to do. But I don't think people think about abuse and think that everyone is as strong as other people are. They're able to think and process in a manner that makes sense. Sometimes that's just not working up here. You know, it's too much other stuff in the front part that the stuff that's in the back of your head, you can't hear it. So I charge you all to, if somebody tells you they're being abused, somebody tells you they're going through something, listen to them. Don't tell them what they should or should not do. Tell them how you feel about them. Let them know how, if something happens to them, how you would feel. Let those types of things. But just putting, like, you need to go, that's just not always going to be the best thing. So if you really care about someone, walk beside them as they try to make their decisions. Don't make the decision for them. Just let them know why you're there and how you feel about them. Because as long as I knew somebody else cared about me, that is what got me out. Because I had children. You know what? That's a whole nother video. Let me stop. But I'm just hoping if there's anybody else that's went through something like this, or you know someone else, just let them know that it's okay and we go through things and life isn't black or white. Sometimes it's gray than a mug and you just don't know how to get out of it. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I'll see you next time.